Hi, my name is Larry Krieger. I've taught American history in urban, rural, and suburban public high schools in North Carolina and New Jersey. But you probably recognize my name as the author of widely used AP US history prep books. I'm very proud of the fact that the overwhelming majority of my students have scored 5s and 4s on the APUSH exam. Now, my mission in creating this YouTube video is simple. I hope it will help you enjoy your AP US history course, and I hope it will help you score 5s and 4s on your APUSH exam. Well, the topic of this video is transportation and the market revolution. As you can imagine, the market revolution is important. The College Board defines the market revolution as a transition from a local economy of self-sufficient farmers to an interconnected network of regional and national producers and consumers. The market revolution has generated a significant cluster of APUSH questions that include 1 DBQ, 1 LEQ, 3 SAQs, and several sets of multiple choice questions. I'd like to begin this video lesson by introducing you to a young woman named Margaret Dwight. Now, unfortunately, we don't know what Margaret looked like, but we do know a great deal about one significant event in her life. In 1810, when she was just 19 years old, Margaret decided to leave her home in Connecticut and move to Northeast Ohio to live with her cousins. Margaret wrote a detailed diary describing her arduous 600-mile trip. Thanks to her diary, we know that Margaret traveled with a family. During the 6-week journey, she sometimes rode a horse, sometimes sat in a covered wagon, and often walked over steep mountain ridges. We know that the muddy roads were, in her words, bad past description. Even worse, Margaret had to spend nights in crowded taverns where she ate raw pork and drank whiskey. I do have good news about Margaret. She reached her cousins and within a year married a prosperous merchant, settled in Pittsburgh, and had 13 children. Now, I think it would be natural for you to wonder, why did this trip take so long for Margaret to travel from Connecticut to Ohio? My goodness, well, the answer can be seen in the topographic map on this slide. As you can see, the Appalachian Mountains form a 1,300-mile long and 300-mile wide barrier that made it difficult for Americans to travel west. But despite the rugged terrain, many settlers did travel across the mountains. Margaret's diary reports that she saw wagons without number. When she arrived in Ohio, the new state already had a population of 230,000 people. Now, Ohio, the state where Margaret traveled to, was part of a region known as the Northwest Territory. Now, as you can see on our map, this region included all of the lands northwest of the Ohio River, east of the Mississippi River, and south of the Great Lakes. Farmers in this vast and fertile region produced surplus crops of corn and wheat. The question that will dominate this lesson is this: which forms of transportation would the Northwest farmers use to transport their bulky goods to consumers living in cities along the East Coast? Well, the market revolution began with a new road. In 1806, Congress voted to fund the first major interstate highway built by the federal government. Known as the National Road, the 30-foot wide highway reached Wheeling on the Ohio River in 1818. As you can see on the map, the National Road eventually stretched 600 miles to Vandalia, which was then the capital of Illinois. Like our modern interstate highways, the National Road promoted economic growth as towns filled with taverns, stores, and warehouses sprang up along its route. The National Road's well-drained path proved to be ideal for a new generation of covered wagons known as Conestogas. As you can see in our picture, they were usually drawn by a team of 6 horses. The sturdy wagon shown in our illustration could carry a load weighing up to 5 tons. That's pretty good. Although Conestoga wagons represented a vast improvement over the type of wagon that Margaret Dwight used, they could not transport heavy loads of wheat, corn, or flour. Now, an American artist and inventor named Robert Fulton, who's staring out at us, had an idea. He believed his idea would revolutionize transportation in America. Now, what was this idea? Contrary to popular belief, Fulton did not invent the steamboat, but he did design and build the first commercially successful steamboat. So, the wide, deep, and slow-moving Hudson provided an ideal river for Fulton to test his bold idea that boats powered by a steam engine could safely transport passengers and freight. On September the 10th, 1807, a large crowd watched as the Clermont left its wharf in Lower Manhattan and slipped into the Hudson River for a projected 150-mile trial run to Albany. The ship shown in our picture is a replica. At first, skeptical spectators derided the Clermont as Fulton's folly and confidently predicted it'll explode. But after a slow start, the Clermont began to puff its way up the Hudson. Eyewitnesses reported that the jeers soon turned to cheers. The Clermont completed its historic voyage in 32 hours, easily besting the 4 days sailing vessels usually required to reach Albany. Within a short time, Fulton began a regular and profitable service that carried passengers and freight between New York City and Albany. Well, the Clermont's success convinced Fulton and other ambitious entrepreneurs that the Mississippi River Valley offered a great opportunity for steamboats. Now, a look at the map on this page really does explain the reasons for their optimism. As you can see, the Mississippi River Valley covers a vast area. In fact, it's one of the world's largest inland river systems. Blocked by the Appalachian Mountains, Midwestern farmers were forced to ship their surplus produce down the Ohio and Mississippi rivers to New Orleans. Well, flatboats, like the one pictured on this slide, initially dominated travel and commerce on the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. But flatboats had a major disadvantage. Strong downstream currents made the Ohio and Mississippi one-way highways. After delivering their goods to New Orleans, most crews sold their flatboats and then walked home along a 440-mile forest trail known as the Natchez Trace. This long and arduous return trip limited Midwestern farmers to just one round trip a year. Well, buoyed by the Clermont's success, Fulton confidently predicted that the power of propelling boats by steam is now fully proven. He was right. Between 1811 and 1817, a new generation of intrepid steamboat pilots successfully guided their ships downstream to New Orleans and then back upstream to Louisville, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. The painting on this page shows you what classic twin smokestack Mississippi River steamboats look like. Powerful steamboats like these enabled Midwestern farmers to make not one, but now 4 round trips to New Orleans each year. Now, the arrival of steamboats in the Mississippi Valley had a number of important consequences we want to identify. The ships encouraged a lucrative trade between northwestern farmers and southwestern cotton planters. Transported by steamboats, corn and pork from northwestern farms fed enslaved Africans on plantations that specialized in growing cotton for national and international markets. Steamboats thus played a key role in contributing to the reign of King Cotton. Steamboats also contributed to the growth of inland cities such as St. Louis. The painting on this page gives you an idea of what St. Louis's bustling riverfront looked like in the 1850s. Just look at all those steamboats. While steamboats were forging economic ties between the Northwest and the Southwest, northeastern cities like New York City became increasingly isolated behind the Appalachian Mountains. Was there anything New York City could do to redirect the flow of trade? Well, let's take another look at this Appalachian barrier. Now, I know I've probably given you the impression that the Appalachian Mountains formed a nearly impassable barrier. But this is not entirely true. Let's take another look. Look carefully right up here, and you'll see there is in fact a gap in the mountains. It's 50 miles wide. Now, this gap, located right up here in upstate New York, was not a flat plain. The area contained thick forests, marshes, and numerous streams. Passage through this wilderness would be possible, but definitely not easy. Now I'd like to introduce you to a key figure in our story. His name is DeWitt Clinton. Clinton was a remarkable political leader who served as mayor of New York City and governor of New York State. He was aware of the gap in the Appalachian Mountains. Clinton boldly predicted that a canal connecting Buffalo on Lake Erie with Albany on the Hudson River would be a financial bonanza for New York City. Skeptics naturally scoffed at the idea, calling the proposed canal DeWitt's Ditch. When he heard about the idea, Thomas Jefferson joined the chorus of critics calling the idea little short of madness. Well, you know, the critics did have good reasons to be skeptical. The project began with inexperienced engineers who had never seen a canal. Thousands of workers used shovels, pickaxes, wheelbarrows, and other crude tools. But hard work and inspired improvisation overcame these obstacles. As you can see on our map and pictures, the completed Erie Canal was often described as one of the wonders of the world. It stretched 363 miles from Buffalo to Albany. The opening of the Erie Canal on October 26, 1825, marked a truly momentous event. A specially decorated barge named the Seneca Chief opened the celebration by carrying Governor Clinton on a triumphant voyage to New York City. A huge parade with hundreds of floats celebrated the Seneca Chief's arrival into New York Harbor. The painting on this page portrays the climactic moment when Governor Clinton performed a symbolic wetting of the waters by pouring a keg of water from Lake Erie into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, I have to tell you, the Erie Canal was more than a feat of engineering. It was also an instant economic success. The canal defied the force of gravity that had compelled Midwestern farmers to ship their bulky produce down the Ohio and Mississippi rivers to New Orleans. Now they had a much faster and significantly cheaper option that reduced the cost of shipping goods to New York City by as much as 90%. That's a lot. With its unrivaled access to the Great Lakes, New York became the Empire State, a boast the state still proudly displays on its license plates. At the same time, New York City surpassed New Orleans as America's first port, while also eclipsing Philadelphia as the nation's financial hub. Now, this overwhelming success of the Erie Canal sparked a wave of new canal construction. The network of canals displayed on our map created a new economic geography. Now, for example, take a look at Ohio, and you can see there's a canal from the Ohio River up to Cleveland and Lake Erie, and another canal stretching up on the western side of Ohio, reaching to Toledo. These two new canals linked the Ohio River with Lake Erie. They thus helped forge closer economic ties between northwestern farmers and northeastern cities and manufacturers. I have to tell you, merchants in Baltimore did not applaud the success of the Erie Canal. They recognized it posed a significant threat to their city's prosperity. In a bold gamble, Baltimore responded to the Erie's challenge by financing and building America's first commercially successful railroad. It's the one that's featured on the Monopoly board, the Baltimore and Ohio, or the B&O. As its name implies, the railroad's goal was to connect Baltimore with the lucrative trading region stretching to the Ohio River. Now, although canals were still the kings of American transportation, their reign would be brief. Baltimore's successful gamble inspired a wave of railroad construction across America. As well it should. Railroads offered impressive advantages that canals could not match. Early trains could reach average speeds of 10 miles an hour. That's more than twice as fast as a canal barge. And in addition, and a point we sometimes forget, railroads could operate in cold weather that froze canals. The painting on this page really captures the excitement generated by the arrival of an iron horse. Just look at all the people and the flags waving, and here comes what today's standards or later standards would be considered a small train, but even so, it certainly encouraged great excitement. Between 1840 and 1860, America's expanding rail network surged from under 3,000 miles to over 30,000 miles of track. Now, America's growing railroad network dramatically accelerated the market revolution. As internal commerce expanded, each region of the country developed a specialized economy. The southern plantations, as we all know, grew cotton. Northwestern farms harvested corn and wheat, and northeastern factories produced manufactured goods. Now take a very close look at the map on this page. Note that a dense concentration of railroad lines crisscrossed the northern states. In fact, 2/3 of America's rail lines were in the north. like canals, railroads reinforce the ties between the Northeast and the Northwest, while limiting their trade with the South. This ongoing process promoted a growing spirit of sectionalism. Now, we've definitely covered a lot, and here I am, I'm back. I'm back for our fast review. Let's cover the key points. The period between 1815 and 1860 witnessed greater strides in transportation that had occurred in all previous centuries. Turnpikes, steamboats, canals, and railroads sparked a dramatic transformation of the American economy, known as the Market Revolution. The Market Revolution marked an important transition from a local economy of largely self-sufficient farms to regional and national networks of producers and consumers. As commerce expanded, each region of the country specialized, the South in cotton, the Northwest in corn and wheat, and the Northeast in manufactured goods. As we have seen, the Erie Canal had a dramatic impact on the American economy. It created an all-water route that significantly reduced the cost of shipping goods between the Great Lakes and New York City. The Erie Canal transformed New York City into America's greatest commercial center, while also inspiring a boom in canal construction that lasted throughout the 1830s. Now, this growing network of canals and railroad lines reinforced east-west ties at the expense of north-south connections. Transportation innovations and the resulting market revolution thus contributed to sectionalism in the period between 1815 and 1860. Well, I hope this video has helped you achieve our goals. Hope you're enjoying your AP US History class, and I certainly believe it will help you earn 4s and 5s on your APUSH exam. Now, I'd like to encourage you to check out InsiderTestPrep.com for additional resources that include prep books and practice multiple choice and short answer questions. Just remember, don't stress. There's no reason to stress. ITP will guide you to success.